Ko liksim uz kārā zoba?
Digitālo brokastu saldais ēdiens.
How would you describe yourself at this time? Who is Martinu Gausu?
Very motivated at the moment, coming out of the largest crisis in aviation history, to be back on track and to have so many things to do now, very different things to take this airline into the future. So very motivated, a lot of energy, very healthy now. Spring is coming, so I'm very motivated to go forward, because the time behind us was pretty tough.
Mm-hmm. Following up on this, your Twitter bio states that you can't change yesterday, but you can do a lot about tomorrow. How do you change something that is not there yet and hasn't happened?
How that is meant is that a lot of people try to change the past, right? They keep going on about what they did wrong. I don't do that. I try to change when I understand that that is not okay. Tomorrow I wake up in the morning with a routine and I enjoy the day. And I teach everybody around me, my kids and whoever wants to know, that do not waste your time with something you cannot change anymore. But there's so many people who are trying to change what happened. You cannot. But this was the path you took, and from now you take it, and you hopefully you learn. But even if you don't learn and you do something again which you didn't want to do, you cannot change it. But you can change everything tomorrow. I mean, I can leave tomorrow and move to Australia and stay there. I can take, and you can take that decision. Nobody stops you. Nobody. We're living in a free country. There might be consequences, yeah? You might get divorced, your kids might be unhappy, and you have no money anymore. But nobody can stop you to start tomorrow moving to Australia and live a life there. And that is a very, very powerful thing we humans have, the humans who live in a free world. And this power people are not using, because you also have this power in very small daily things you can take decisions on. You can say yes or no and make a big difference, yeah. But what you cannot do, you cannot change yesterday's decision, and that is a statement which I have in my bio, which I live. I really live it. Yeah, I try to not struggle with decisions from the past if they were not correct, and we all take lots of things which we think they were not correct. Then accept it, but go on and do something tomorrow about it or today.
Well, a thing that helps us change tomorrow is technology, and that is what Digital Breakfast is all about. So, Martinu Gausu and technology, rather good acquaintances or good friends? How would you describe yourself and technology?
Very good friends. My whole life, my son, he's 20 now, he says, how do you manage to know always the latest? Yeah, so this is like a competition between him and me, where we say, so what do you know latest about NFTs, blockchain, ChatGPT? And I'm reading and I'm trying and running the most modern airline. If we look at the aircraft technology there and what comes with it, now SpaceX, I mean, there's lots of things where people say, yeah, that's the future. I always try, I'm personally interested in technology, and I'm interested in whatever the future holds for us, because I do believe we as humans develop faster and faster and faster. I do believe so, and technology, of course, helps a lot.
What's your daily routine? How do you follow this new technology trends, for example, also in aviation, which is going on and on every day?
I have a very strict routine developed for myself in the morning. I want to wake up in the local time, latest at 7, ideally half an hour earlier, but I don't force myself. But 7 is my personal time. I have an Oura ring, which is a Finnish product measuring your sleep. So the first thing I do, I take that ring off and synchronize it with my phone to see my sleep score and my readiness score. This morning it was 80 and 91, so both good. And then I do some bathroom routine, but then before I do anything else, I take an espresso and I go through a defined setting of media, global media, tech media, and it's a pattern which I do to read basically everything which happened when I slept. And I do this before 8, then I do other routines, and then normally between 7:45, 8 o'clock, I'm going for breakfast. I'm always having breakfast when I'm not in Munich, where I'm hardly ever now, but when I'm in a hotel or when I'm here in Latvia, I'm going for a breakfast place and then have either the first meeting, or if I don't have a meeting at breakfast, I use that half an hour breakfast to again go deeper into whatever has to do with update on news. And that's not classic news. That might be also stock. That might be looking what Blinkist published. So I have one icon on the phone which includes all of the one, and I always go in the same order through all of them. Then I do emails. Only then I do emails, because I have then already the knowledge to maybe answer an email. And then normally so I leave at 8:30, 8:35, very standard pattern. If people would follow me, they would see no difference there when I'm in Riga. And then before 9, I'm in the office. And then meetings start, and every day is different. And then I have my daily routine. If I'm abroad, I try to do exactly the same, but then depending on where you are, time zone, sometimes puzzles you in doing it. But I love that routine. I also do it Saturday, Sunday. I don't change it. Naturally, my body wakes up also there at the same time. I want to get average over the last 3 years. Sleep is 6:55, so that's my average time I slept, and that's natural, so I don't force it. So therefore, if I get 7 hours of sleep, I'm fit for the day, and that's the routine. And it really helps me because I have a huge knowledge transfer already in the morning, then starting my day with that knowledge which I took overnight.
That's definitely a very strict routine that I think many wish to have to keep up with everything. But you mentioned that you have an Oura ring.
Yeah.
What else is in your gentleman's technology or gadget portfolio? What is with you, and what are your maybe favorite gadgets that are not with you?
Oura ring is there only at night unless I travel. Then I keep it on because I don't want to lose it. Very simple, because you can lose. I lost one by putting it somewhere. So otherwise only at night. Oura ring during the day. It used to be a Rolex years ago, became an Apple Watch, and is an Apple Watch now. So these are the two gadgets doing the health stuff. The iPhone, and that's basically it. When I work, a Mac. These are all technical gadgets. I don't have anything else. And I have, that's it. And with that, you can put me anywhere. High-speed internet access is something I really like, and there is many airlines which offer that already on the long-haul flights, and I'm always using it. But of course, the speed and the usability is not good enough, but we are doing something about it.
We just recently talked on our show about ecosystems, so I find it interesting. Why have you chosen Apple as your ecosystem of gadgets?
As everybody, I mean, I'm a generation where there were no computers and no phones. My first mobile phone looked like a bone from Nokia, and that was in 1993, I think. And before that, computer came. And I was lucky in life because I was already finishing my high school with a subject called computer. And there we learned you could put in that machine which the school had, you could put a word, and then you could put a formula, and it would repeat the same word again and again and again. And it was crazy. I mean, crazy tech. You put one word and it was repeating itself again and again. So that is how I started. And from that time on, something came up which was called email. And you had to unplug the telephone from the wall. You needed a modem. And you had a CompuServe number. And then in the US, you needed to know where about you are in the US to pre-dial, and then you could receive an email. That's how I started. And in all the development until today, in all these areas, I try to stay at the top. And then it was natural then when Mac came, and when the MacBook and the iPhone came, that I was Psion before and Nokia and whatever. Then I and today I'm an Apple addict. We in the company have, of course, as most companies in general, laptops, but we are giving the freedom also for people to use Mac products. And I'm personally a friend of the Apple technology. Mm-hmm. But I do know that whatever Samsung, Microsoft world, it's not as good, but it's there.
Mm-hmm. In airBaltic, you can pay by cryptocurrencies. Are you using them yourself?
Yes, since 2014. Our CFO, Witold Yakovlevs, and I think that should be in the history books, he in 2014 came to me. He knew about Bitcoin. I had not heard about it. Said, what do you think about us accepting that as a form of payment? I looked at it. I bought myself Bitcoin to understand the technology before we did it. He already told me what it is about. We discussed it and we did it. It was introduced, first airline in the world accepting Bitcoin. And since that time, I'm in the crypto space and I gained a lot of knowledge. Today, I would say one of my strongest hobbies is the blockchain area, because this is a personal hobby where now more into the blockchain art, as they now call it. That's the latest word. People use the word NFT still, but it might change. And utilities of NFTs. So what we do in airBaltic. That's a hobby today. The cryptocurrencies themselves play a minor role today, because the blockchain with NFT technology offers me more. And there, airBaltic basically brought me to it, because in 2014, dealing with the form of payment, Bitcoin, was the start of it at a very early stage. And again, I had the advantage of going through a development where many people joined only in 2020, 21, when the hype started.
So I hope you have not forgotten your password and your Bitcoin portfolio is a positive.
No, actually, I don't have much Bitcoin, but I have not forgotten any passwords, but I have been scammed, rugged. I have had all of these things which people have when they enter the space. And I think you cannot become successful in that space if you don't go through the forms of development, which happened to me as well. But I would say today I do understand what I do to a very good level. To such a good level, they're asking me to speak about it even outside the company. And I'm doing this with pleasure. I think I'm now invited to speak at the NFT blockchain in Paris and NFT NYC. So airBaltic's ambition there, airBaltic's technology lead, and we're a global leader on NFT technology in the aviation industry, is accepted and gives us additional possibility to share this Latvian-made tech company, because airBaltic is kind of a tech company, because we fly the most modern tech-wise aircraft. We combine it with the most modern form of payment and the technology of frequent flyer program. And in all of it, we were first in the world. So it's an airline which is also a tech company.
Are you a fan of NFT art yourself?
Yes, I do. There's many different ways now of NFT art, but I'm a big fan of NFT art, because I think every household should have digital art at home, right? So that's the statement I would make, because it's very nice if you can have your own art, because it's very affordable depending on what you like, and you can display it in your home, but you can also display it anywhere else in the world at the same time, and you can prove the ownership. So I think the digital art, the blockchain art, NFTs, will be part of the art sector. And then, of course, there's the extremes that some stuff is very expensive and not for everybody. But then there's a lot of interesting developments. Now we have AI NFTs, where AI is drawing the art, and very interesting things coming out there. Another field where there will be an industry forming out of it. So very interesting stuff happening. And we always look at, is there something in for airBaltic? Like with ChatGPT, we have integrated this in airBaltic, because when something is good, why not use it also at your workplace?
Before this interview, we of course prepared and went through also your Twitter, and we saw that there were a lot of tweets on your Twitter profile with a photo and a caption, GM! What does that stand for? Great minds, good manners, or?
Good morning. It's something which comes from the NFT community. There is some of the leaders in that space, and they brought that meme, GM, and that meme is used in very different formats. There's even memes today you can buy as NFTs which just have the synonym GM. And it is a polite way in that space to greet each other. There's also now the GN, the good night. It shows if you're in that space very active. Now you are online with a GM, And if you would do a GN, which I don't do, then people know, okay, now you're not available anymore. As it is a global, so the Asians are doing GM much earlier, while in the US they do it much later. But when you don't know, because most of the people have a profile which is anonymous, so therefore you don't know whether the person is from Asia or from US. And therefore GM stands for good morning, and that is coming from the NFT space.
Talking about Twitter, have you considered leaving Twitter with the recent changes in the platform?
Not at all. The opposite. I do adore managers who take on very difficult tasks and fight it through when they do it for a good reason. And especially Elon Musk, maybe being forced to take Twitter at the end, went in and is changing that platform to something which will have a better use than it had before. And I'm not politically at all, and I'm not saying this is right or this is wrong, but I do believe that Twitter is a very effective way of digesting last-minute news. And I think it has proven in the world, if we look at the last tragedy in Egypt and Syria, without Twitter, a lot of things, a lot of help could not arrive. So therefore, Twitter, and there's nothing else yet, has a very important role. The free speech I see very critical, because we Europeans have a different attitude towards this than Americans or Asians. But because that is critical, I think you cannot allow everything to be there, because there might be people who cannot handle what is said about them, for example, and therefore it gets too personal. But I do like that Twitter has taken an approach where the usage of Twitter, with Twitter Blue now, where you have to pay a certain amount, but then you're getting something more professional, I think that is okay. Because if we look at Spotify, you also, if you pay for it, get a better service. And if you look at Netflix, and we all are using services where there's a lot of work to be done in the background to make it professional. And therefore, Twitter going for a paid subscription is something the right way, because that will ensure that they will get out of their losses, because they were making losses, and loss-making businesses do not have a future.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Twitter and Elon Musk, how did you come to the idea of Starlink internet on airBaltic planes? Did Elon Musk somehow play a role in this story?
In 2011, we had to decide for a new aircraft type. In 2012, we ordered an aircraft called CS300, today Airbus A220, and in 2016 we got it. When you buy an aircraft, like a car, you decide on what you want from the extras. And there's many extras airBaltic took. We took the little screens above the seats. We took other stuff on the aircraft. We didn't take the extra of satellite communication, which was available at the time at an extreme price. That time it was Panasonic system. All the years we wanted to have that, because our competitor Norwegian had that already years ago, and others started to have it. In the US it was a standard, go Wi-Fi and on board. We never could make a business case where it would work, because installing such a system, and then the current technology was just not making a positive business case for us due to the way how you return the money. When I learned about Starlink as a technical possibility, and that's again the tech knowledge, I tried to reach Starlink or SpaceX to understand if that would be something which could be done on an aircraft. I did not succeed of reaching them. So I wrote a tweet, which is there. And on that tweet, I tagged Elon Musk to say, wouldn't that be something? We're this small airline from Latvia. And that tweet then caused the reaction, because then SpaceX contacted me direct after the tweet and said, there's my telephone number, and we started the discussion. So that's how it started. It was a bit difficult to get to them, but Elon Musk was only in the way involved that I tagged him. Mm-hmm. But he and his mom liked our tweet when we said that we're going to have Starlink. So that was something, 1.3 million people saw the tweet we did when we signed the contract. And what was interesting, that him and his mother and many, many other people liked airBaltic's tweet at the time. But to get to that point was a long way.
another example of the Twitter power, why it is relevant, right?
No, Twitter has power, of course, but we have to be clear it can be also misused, and we've seen that in the past. So therefore, I think you should have a certain level of understanding in general today about the media landscape, what is happening there. Yeah, and unfortunately, if I look also at my youngest child with TikTok, she takes what is there as the truth. And then the young generation, the very young generation, sometimes cannot judge. And there is a certain danger with all of these media today. But that's it. I mean, we all live, and also my little daughter's generation is a generation which will be one day pensioners. And they will have all developed into the world they're going to live in. And I will not be changing their path. I can only try to learn from what my generation, the knowledge we have. Yeah, Twitter. Today it's Twitter. We used to have Clubhouse, where I thought that's the next big thing. It just disappeared. There might be something coming none of us knows, and that is the next thing. But today, on the social media side, I would say I spend most of the time when I read news, I read on Twitter, and mainly reading their news from different international news portals, but also individuals where I value what they have to say.
Let's talk about the technology side of the Starlink. So when we think of Starlink, we think about the dish and wire and a router, right? So how will Starlink be installed on board on the planes?
So we have this I brought last week from Los Angeles when we were visiting SpaceX again. That is the original antenna, which will be, and this is actually an original. This will be mounted on the aircraft top with a little. It's very flat with a little frame, and that little frame is only there so that you have something where you can screw it on. There's a procedure to screw it on.
And there will be just one on the top?
Just one on the top, and it has here a power cable and then the cable which goes to the routers. That goes into the aircraft, and there will be a hole. And then we have this on the aircraft, and then a connection to the power of the aircraft, and we will have 3 boxes, routers, in the ceiling of the aircraft. And once the aircraft has power, because this is connected to the power, the antenna will receive the Starlink satellite system. And this is exactly the same technology antenna than if you would buy yourself a Starlink dish for your home, which is a bit smaller, but it's the same technology. There's no difference. Even the boxes are the same you get delivered for your home Starlink. They're just in the ceiling, not visible for you. And all then which happens is you go on board the aircraft that is always there as a passenger or as a crew, and you select the Wi-Fi, which will have the name. We can define the name for each aircraft. There's no password, there's no login, and then you have high-speed internet access. The speed which will be delivered to the aircraft, so that's one speed which arrives here, is sufficient that every passenger during the flight can watch Netflix or whatever. So you are not limited in your data download. You're also not limited in what you do with it, because we will not restrict the use. We will have to have a set of rules, because we are in the airline industry having certain safety procedures, but we will not be limiting people of what they do on board. If it gets out of hand, of course, we would have to have a set of rules. Let's say everybody does his Teams call in full speed, might be a problem. So, but we will want that freedom. So the spirit of SpaceX or Starlink and the whole idea behind it, and that's why we worked together with them, was we shared the same spirit. And in the discussion, getting to doing this contract, one of the key criteria was this extreme disruption, that you do not take the data from the passenger, that you do not have a login. The simplicity of using it and no limitation was key to us and key to them. And we will see a disruption of the aviation industry with that system coming, because all other systems cannot deliver the speed. Even the latest technology cannot. And all other systems will have to make it a positive business case, sort of a login or an identification of the passenger, so that the airline then with this data can do something, or the telecom provider. Here, the question I'm asked from colleagues now who read the news, so how do you make money if you are not even having any data? let's come to it when it is installed, because this is what we already know, and it's a different approach. It's a disruptive approach, but we're working with a company, SpaceX, who has shown with all the companies that they are changing things for the better, and that's what we're going to do.
So that the listeners understand what we have in front of us here is a very thin, what looks like a monitor. It's that's a coating, just a coating. Underneath is a very hard plastic, and on the back this is just screwed. It's a cover, and the whole antenna is a green board with thousands of chips on it, and that is the technology. Wow. And it just needs to be powered. It's not the standard satellite dish. It's not round. This is the antenna as it is. It's whoever uses a Starlink already today. It's exactly the same dish, but it will be mounted not on a tripod. It will be just mounted onto the ceiling. It will not be moving while the aircraft is flying. So this will not move. It will just move with the aircraft.
Right.
So we checked the support pages of SpaceX. What did we find, Richard?
Yes, so the support pages of Starlink claim that its internet connection will be available throughout all the phases of the flight. And we are used to the fact that during the takeoff and landing, all gadgets have to be switched to the
airplane mode.
Yeah. So
that is a requirement which already by EU law will disappear, because we will have 5G connectivity and it's allowed to have phones on. So that will change anyway. This system will be on. So the system is not yet certified to be put on our aircraft, so we have to wait for the certification. The certification includes the usage, but as I have flown on a jet where it is installed already for the demonstration uses, it works. So I have been myself on a flight, and exactly what you say, I was using it as a passenger on the takeoff run during the climb out, and then and I wanted the aircraft to fly at maximum speed. It was a private jet from SpaceX, and that speed, we were going over the Pacific because I wanted deliberately not have any ground connection. Right. At the maximum speed of that aircraft over the Pacific, I tried to use the maximum with Netflix, and then I received a FaceTime call. And during the call, I went to the Safari browser to see my speed, and I took a screenshot of the speed, and I had 86.5 megabits per second. I recently came back from LA on a commercial flight with a large European carrier, and I bought the maximum speed internet pass there, and my speed was between 0.1 and 1.1 megabits per second. And I was one of the few users on board. So there is definitely a change coming, and I'm really excited because we're going to have it for free for everybody. And I already enjoy the positive feedback. After we had a very good aircraft where we could get good feedback, now we're going to have an add-on where passengers can just enjoy a higher internet speed than they have all the way from home to the aircraft, because in between you will have at no time such a high speed.
So far the flight was a great excuse to skip the video meeting, to actually concentrate on what truly matters. And we were just thinking like how this innovation will change the atmosphere on board.
That is the issue where we say, okay, we don't want to come with restrictions, but for sure there will be rules, because as with masks wearing, we had to have rules when somebody was not following the rules. Air safety will not be jeopardized, so we will not have a zoo on board where people are doing all sorts of things which are disturbing the safety and the comfort of a flight. The worst is we would have everybody having a FaceTime super loud, because the sound of the engines, and then 150 people shouting to their granny how wonderful it is on the airBaltic flight. We will not have that. There will be ways of saying, would you please refrain from FaceTime talking? But you can, of course, watch there's a Teams meeting, there's a PowerPoint presentation. Maybe watch mode is still good enough for you. But you can work on your PowerPoint, you can download it, you can upload it, you can watch your own Netflix,
And
Amazon
by the
Prime.
sounds of the speed that you can attain, you can also do some gaming on board.
Yes, you can do gaming. You can do gaming. You basically can do everything you can do when you have a high-speed internet access. And that is something which doesn't exist today. It will exist here. We're not the first in the world, in fairness. There is already a regional airline flying in US with little Embraer jets. They have 16 installed. And Hawaiian Air was technically the first airline saying we're going to go for it on their A320s. They are not certified yet, but these antennas are produced in many quantities because we are also not the last airline. We are now getting certification for the Airbus A220. And then we will be installing it.
Just for clarification, so airBaltic will be the first airline in Europe that is doing this, right?
The first on the A220, because we do this process together with Airbus and SpaceX of getting it certified, and then we are the first one in Europe which will have it installed.
I might be reaching with this next question, but do you know which destinations or when approximately we could get Starlink on airBaltic?
So when this antenna is certified, it's already functioning today. We could put it on and it would work. So it's technically it works, but in aviation you need to go through a certification process with FAA and EASA, and the timeline for that could be a year. It could be 6 to 9 months. The moment we have the approval to use it, we will retrofit the whole fleet, and we look at it at the moment that it could take about 3 months. So there's day one, and then 3 months later you have it on all aircraft and all flights.
Let's talk about innovations and airBaltic, because this is an innovative thing on flights. I was just wondering, how do the many innovations at airBaltic benefit it? We are talking about Starlink Internet, about NFTs, about other wonderful things that that airBaltic is doing, and of course it is good for the reputation. Why do you go forward with all of these supposedly new things that many people could consider as not tested, maybe not at first beneficial? Why do that?
We always do it based on a business case. So the NFTs were based on a business case. So you invest time, money, resources, but you have to have an understanding of what is your cost and what is your income. And then, of course, it's always based on assumptions, but as a company, you should be able to judge whether these assumptions are realistic. And if we take NFTs, that was a very simple one. You create, with our PFP collection, when we take the Planes, which was the second collection, the frequent flyer program, we created a PFP collection. There's a design, there's the production cost, there's the upload cost, and there's the minting of 10,000 pieces, and we are selling it for around $100 per piece. So $100 times 10,000 is $1 million. Now you take the cost of what it cost us, you take the income, you have a very simple business case. Now we're giving the passenger the equivalent of spending 20 euros per day on us, without flying on us. So you would say that's a lot of cost. But then you have already existing loyalty program data from our customers, which says if you're an airBaltic frequent flyer, statistically you are spending much more money on us than on other airlines because you're very loyal. So that loyalty increases if you have an additional incentive to fly on us even more. So it's a pure commercial driven positive win-win for both the passenger and us. So now we're combining both. We are saying the NFT has certain utility in the frequent flyer program, which it has. It gives you 20 points per day when you own it, and it gives you some other benefits which you would not have if you wouldn't have the NFT. The technology development cost and the maintenance of it's on OpenSea, there is no cost. Plus, if there's trading happening later, because they're not all yet minted, there's even royalties coming. So it's a business case. The ideas are coming always from in-house, and then people. We're nearly 2,500 people now. There's a lot of people who have ideas, and the culture in airBaltic is. If you have we have an idea hub, so we encourage people. We even actively have announcements. Please all come together. give us this and this idea. We have every week forums and ways of people having their craziest idea brought up. Of course, our people gain their knowledge in the aviation industry. So they might have ideas you wouldn't have if you are in the car industry, because they are confronted with this year 64,000 flights of Airbuses. So if you're at the ground operations department and you see these aircraft coming in and coming out, you maybe one day have an idea of what to change. If that idea is allowed to be raised, and then that idea becomes a positive business case, we change tech. And at the end of the day, this is how airBaltic became kind of a tech innovation company in the world, because we get awards for being top innovator, also buying the latest aircraft technology, which was driven by sustainability needs and reduction in emissions and all of these things. But we have it today. And this aircraft itself is a technology lead because it is ahead of whatever is available today. So it's basically, we have the aircraft, and with that the need to go for the next step. Paperless cockpit was something we did. Now we have only electric cars on the ground. Why? Because we have to demonstrate sustainability. There's a road to net zero. This is an overriding target. We pay this year 26 million just to buy emission certificates, because we still emit CO2. But we changed at least all the company cars to electrical cars. So it's in small compared to the aircraft, but we are reducing the footprint there. So all of these things go together. And now somebody is saying airBaltic drives only electrical cars. That's an innovation, yeah, sort of, yeah, because it's at the moment the latest technology. But that led us to how do we charge the cars at the airport, because there's no charging stations. So we found our way of doing this as well. Again, that was done in-house. You might have seen at the car park, every car has a charging station there. And because you're doing things which are leading in innovation, you of course, once you've issued an NFT, you don't have to think about how do I issue an NFT, you've done it. And I like it if you've done something, you finished it, because then you have room to do the next thing. And that is what innovation is about, and that's why the human race is developing like this, because innovation drives innovation.
So we have Starlink in the near future, let's call it that way. What's the next big thing in your head?
I mean, there's the next aircraft order, which is the same aircraft. That is a big thing. For that, we need to do IPO, or we need to raise capital, because otherwise you cannot place an order. But, and I already said it, we are looking into electric aircraft, vertical takeoff aircraft for regional connectivity. So 300 kilometers range, electric, full electric feeding, to make cities like Daugavpils, Kuldiga reachable, because that is coming. This is a technology which is there. It's in the final testing. Lilium is one I like the most, because they are the most advanced, but it might be others. A lot of companies are bringing that, and that is something we are engaging ourselves with, because that is again sustainability, which we have to deliver, but also because we operate in an area where there's just two airports in Latvia, but many cities where you could shuttle direct to the flights. And in combination, of course, you can also shuttle to Rail Baltica with that, right? It's not only airplanes, because Rail Baltica will be in 2029, I understand, arriving at Riga Airport. By that time, maybe we have already vertical takeoff aircraft, electric ones, 6-seaters, 8-seaters, which they're drone-like, which lift off at Daugavpils, 300 kilometers an hour, full electric. And how long will it take? 15 minutes, 17 minutes max, and you're landing at Riga Aviation Rail Hub, right? And then you're entering a high-speed train to the rest of Europe. So we go well beyond just saying, okay, we airBaltic have these planes. We are actually welcoming Rail Baltica, because that is going to be a big boost. It's 2029. If I want to have something in this tech area in 2029, I should better today understand to secure a position. And that's why we are now looking, so what is the time, we're already looking for years, but we're getting closer and closer. So I would say it's not the next big thing, but it's one of the tech things coming, because we are out of the crisis. We are now growing significant towards IPO. Company should be this year the 6th largest company revenue-wise in Latvia. But if we continue our normal progress, we will be the largest company revenue-wise in the country, and technology lead and number one exporter. So I think we also play a role on leading then in a lot of fields. And I hope that all these Latvian tech companies which exist, that they benefit from our network so that they can exchange their ideas, that they use the connectivity of the dinosaur industry, aviation, and bring even more innovation here. Yeah. So,
have you considered hydrogen plants?
Yeah, of course, not even considered. That is, we have a very clear roadmap as an industry, not airBaltic. Our industry goes now from. So the first step all of them have to do is change the engine technology to what we have. So we did that already because the rest of the industry still has to change their aircraft to this technology. Then once you have this technology, you take sustainable aviation fuels. That is the defined roadmap, which are not sufficient for all airlines. So you cannot have sufficient sustainable aviation fuels. There's something else coming called e-fuels, e-kerosene, that is made out of hydrogen, clean energy, and then you have a fuel where you extract the CO2, mix it with hydrogen. It's a combination which has net zero, because you're putting in e-kerosene, you burn it, the emission which you captured will be released again. That is the next step. That, if produced with clean energy, could be the solution to go to net zero already. But also here, the energy needed, the clean energy needed, is not available in Europe and will not. So we would, in Europe, have to import it. So that's restricting it. And then we come to hydrogen aircraft early as 2035, because the testing is going on. It will first be on small aircraft. And unfortunately, current horizon, mainly driven by Airbus, is that it might take until 2050 and beyond before that technology is available for large aircraft. The humans will not stop flying, especially not, I mean, we can restrict ourselves in Europe and say we walk by foot in the future, but the Asians will not restrict themselves. They're growing much faster. India and China alone will have more air travel transportation than we have. So we in Europe will hopefully also one day understand that air travel is good. We just need to make it carbon neutral. I think nobody will have a problem if we don't cause any emissions. This is a generation discussion. The generation now demanding not to fly so loud. They're right. We should not fly. The problem, if we don't fly, then all other things also don't work, because we just learned that. So to find that compromise, because I fully agree, we shouldn't burn any fossil fuel tomorrow, but to get there is a journey. Right. And my kids are giving me this daily, right? 3 different age groups of kids, and then I have that discussion at home, and I love it. I run an airline which is already doing the most of it, but we need to go further. And electric planes, hydrogen planes, SAF, e-kerosene, all of it together is the road to net zero, not one of it. And unfortunately, the development cycles in our industry are as they are. They cannot be speed up. We discussed, when you're with SpaceX, this is of course all about rockets. Yeah? And if you see Starship, those of the listeners who are interested, it's very interesting to see 100 passengers they can take on a Starship, or between 100 and 250 tons of load. Today, the Falcon 9, at least, the smaller rocket, goes up and lands again. People accept that. Every 4 days it happens, and people accepting that is normal. If Starship does the same one day and goes up and lands, maybe Starship can be the transporter for longer distance, because if you can go up, you can also land in Australia, right? 30 minutes later from here. So cargo, I mean, it will start with cargo. Why not have that technology, and you having 250 tons of cargo taken from China to Europe in 30 minutes?
Yes.
So why not? I mean, SpaceX is not working on that. They are working at the moment on their solutions, but I would, and they're working on taking humans to Mars, but maybe some, I mean, it's fossil fuel, right? They're burning. So therefore, not a good idea if you see what a rocket consumes, but maybe we find ways of doing that. So therefore, I would say stay open, set the targets as they are set now, become carbon neutral, but do not kill your industry by saying you have to do it faster than it's technically possible. And that is something in Europe we tend to do, right? We kill something to find out later. Germans are world champion in this, so they're cutting off the nuclear power plants to find out they should have some. And I'm German, I can say that. But we are also now saying in Europe combustion chamber cars should not be built anymore in 35. Europe is heavily depending on building combustion chamber cars. So what will happen? The factories will be outside Europe and we will deliver everywhere else. The GDP impact of that will then happen at countries which are outside of Europe. But that is what we decided, and then let's go for it. But there might be in a couple of years down the road a decision changing it and delaying it, because it's, again, ambitious, but maybe too ambitious.
So to round up our conversation, I understand that the aviation industry is going towards a greener way, that we understand. But besides that, how would you describe what is ahead of us? Will flying be faster, more comfortable, cheaper, besides...
Not cheaper, because I think the industry went wrong by giving the impression that you can fly for a cup of cappuccino from here to Sicily. That's wrong. It's environmentally wrong, it's ethically wrong, because you cannot have the taxi at the same time still costing you 20 euros to get to the airport, or even the bus, and then saying it's good to fly for 5 euros. I know I'm provoking here. It's easy to be said from a rich man that people shouldn't fly for 5 euros. But what I like to have is affordable travel, and to value the transportation over 2,000 kilometers by air in a couple of hours, to value the cost of that transportation, because we already as an industry try to make it as cheap as possible. And we are offering these kind of tickets as well. You can fly for 17 euros, I think, on the cheapest ticket with us quite a while. I still think it's not good, because it gives the impression, especially to new travelers, that that's how it is. It shouldn't be like this. It should be a fair price. Still, also people are spending significant more money than on air travel tickets for other stuff without thinking about it. Then I think if you are willing to travel across the world, you can still afford that, because in your daily life you're doing a lot of things which cost you more, which maybe are not so important than the travel. I don't say that ticket prices will rise. The ticket prices are a factor of our cost and of competition. Competition is there, so the cost defines the ticket price. And at the moment, we have the ticket prices we have, defined by the fuel price we have today. If fuel prices would go down again, ticket prices would go down. If fuel prices go further up, ticket prices go up. So that's the main cost factor. And the competition ensures that the tickets are always at the lowest levels, because if you are not offering the cheaper ticket, then somebody else does it, to the point that everybody just makes a profit.
So you would put emphasis on comfort as the future?
Our emphasis is on, so as airBaltic from the Baltics, it's connectivity. So that is, we are the national carrier, and our role is to connect and support Latvia and the other destinations we serve. But we are Latvian today. We are the Latvian national carrier, owned majority by Latvia. And when we are at the stock exchange, we might be still owned to a significant part by the Latvian state. And our role is it to connect Latvia and the Baltic states. And that is the key of what we do. But we do a hybrid model where we have a full service business class combined with an ultra low cost economy cabin, which means we can address both travelers, as our market is small, the ones who need what we offer in the business class, but also the price sensitivity you have when you are in the back of the cabin. We are the only carrier in Europe combining it so extreme, but it works for us, and that has to do with the aircraft type we have and the location we have. But that's what we focus on also for the years to come.
So just to round it up, what else Martinu Gausu hopes to achieve?
How do you want to be remembered in the annals of history?
I want my kids, when I'm not here anymore, to say that I was a good father. I think that is the only memory I want to take, because that is actually, I have 3 kids, and I want them to say he was a good father. Today I'm also a good father because I'm leading by example an airline in Europe, and they see this as something good I do. But that one sentence, that would be something, if I'm not here anymore, which would be nice. but I have to tell you that I intend to live another 50 to 60 years. So that is not coming too early because my energy levels are still there. I feel very, very young. The Aura ring tells me that I'm younger than I am, and I continue, so you can't write me off yet. There might be some other pensioners already, and I'm still around.
Excellent, very good. Thank you for the wonderful conversation.
Thank you.
Aha! Paldies, ka noklausījies mūs līdz galam!
Ja patika, uzspied like, atstāj komentāru vai padalies ar draugiem.
Un nobauda arī citas epizodes, kā arī seko mums, lai nepalaist garām savu iknedēļas tehnoloģiju ziņu devu.